Hello everyone, I am CA Survi Punshi, Indirect Tax Expert at ClearTax. First of all, I would like to thank you each and everyone for attending today's session of Master of Tax. It's an exclusive live webinar brought to you by ClearTax in which we are going to discuss on cloud-based practices in chartered accountancy and adoptions of technology by the CA community amidst this COVID-19 crisis. So in the first episode of this series, we are going to talk about what are the steps that should be taken by the government to combat the impact of COVID-19. To discuss this, we have our chairman of GST in Indirect Tax Committee of ICI, CA Rajendra Kumarji. So before we begin with the webinar, I would like to welcome our co-founder and CEO Archit Gupta to speak few lines.
So, thank you, Rajendra ji, for gracing our show. I'm very, very excited. Like today, we are kicking off our learning series for expert CAs and businesses in the country, which is called Masters of Tax. And I'm very, very grateful to our speaker, Shri C. Rajendra Kumar ji, for being part of the Clear Tax series. He was the first elected president of the International Chamber of Indirect Tax Professionals that is headquartered in Chennai. He is also the founding member of the same. He was elected twice to the Southern Indian Regional Council of the ICAI for the terms of 2004 to 7 and 2007 to 10. These are just some of the feathers on his cap and many more. His knowledge in and expertise in GST, excise duty, service tax, and VAT makes him as one of the luminaries and established forces in the world of taxes in India. We at ClearTax are very, very excited about having him today with us for our series Masters of Tax. Welcome, sir. Let us begin our first session with CA Rajendra ji. I have one question before we go into like before we go into the talk, sir. Like these are like very difficult and very different times. Like there's a health crisis of COVID, and it has led to financial stress and troubles, right? What is your one piece of advice to all CAs and experts who are watching, and one piece of advice to for them before we kick this off?
Very warm good evening to each and every one of you, Mr. Gupta ji, and all other members of the Clear Tax who are on the screen, and also behind the screen, all the participants who have joined, some 300 plus participants I can see the number here, and it is rising also. Thank you very much for this great honor that you have done to me by inviting me to this particular portal of yours, and also taking my views on the subject. In fact, these are the most difficult times, as rightly told by Mr. Gupta ji. In fact, I am now 50. Just on May 13th, I completed 50 and stepped into the 51. And only in the year 2015, I live in the city of Chennai. And in 2015, we had seen such torrential, huge rains, and Chennai was virtually under flood for about more than 15-20 days. And we were all working tirelessly to bring our city back. And that's when we realized that difficult times, and that was only Chennai. But today, if you see, the whole world is closed, the whole world is locked down, people are inside the homes. Even those who want to go out are afraid. Even in green zones, people don't come to offices. Virtually, that fear psychosis is there in every single person's or every single human being mind. There is a fear psychosis that what will happen to me. In fact, we are all human beings, and we all of us have a time. And after the time the God has set, all of us will have to say goodbye and go and join the God in His own world. So the fear psychosis should not be there. You use all types of social protection that the government says, and get your work. And Guptaji asked, what you want to tell? I mean, I would only tell in Hindi, if you permit me, lage raho. That's all. You please do whatever you are doing now. Do it from your home and reinvent yourself. Try to reinvent yourself. Many of your hobbies would have buried in the last 10 years, 20 years of your hectic professional life. If you are a singer, please sing. If you are a reader of books, please read a lot of books. If you like sleeping, please sleep. Please sleep 10 hours, 12 hours a day. Or if you are a person who likes to talk to people, keep talking to people. Call people who have not spoken for the last 4 5 years or 3 years and suddenly give them a surprise. That is what I have been doing. I've been doing all these things which I have been telling you, and I've been doing less work. In fact, I'm not doing my office work at all. Majority of the work is taken care of by my partners, and there also I told them, "Jo hota hai karo." That's all, because everyone is sailing in the same boat. No one is in a great hurry. There's nothing like emergency. And look at the way the nature has told us that people are important. So, what is it that I would want to do immediately after the lockdown is over? Everything is free. In fact, I would like to travel, meet people, meet friends, go to friends' home, and so on and so forth. So, meet people and believe in technology. Of course, technology is not the be-all and end-all of everything. Technology also plays a major part. Believe in technology. I've never used computers, laptops, iPads for so many number of years, and in the last 2.5 months I have used them when, like, I've never used them before. So this is what is my experience to all of you, and thank you very much. And and if you permit me, I'll go right away to the subject proper. Do I have the permission of the authorities to go to the subject proper?
Absolutely, sir. I'll just conclude with a vote of thanks to you, and with that, please kick off. I'll just repeat the message sir gave, with a very powerful message. Lage rahiye, lage raho. Stay, like, find yourself a little bit. Like, go polish some of the hobbies you had forgotten. Take some rest. There's no urgency, and like sense of like that. There's a sense of calm. You don't have to rush. Nature has shown the way. And the third part sir talked about was adopt technology, make it your friend, treat it as an enabler. So with these three very powerful messages, I'll get out of the way. Sir will now start. Thank you, sir, so much. I'll let you proceed. Thank you, Surbhi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So friends, here we are on this subject. In fact, to begin with, I would tell you that this is a continuous process. Any consumption tax is dynamic in nature. If you have heard me before, I have often and on used this terminology that a consumption tax is always dynamic in nature. It changes with the environment, it changes with the economy, it goes ups and down with the economy, and it is one of the important organs of the government. It is also used as a political tool by governments across the countries. See, it does not make a distinction between a developed country and a developing country. Any consumption tax is also a political tool in the hands of those who are governing a nation. It is also a tool in the hands of the administrators to ensure proper social reforms can commence through this. So Indian GST is also not something very, very different from the world GSTs. We are a part of about 150 plus nations who are implementing GST in the same manner. Now look at this very big opportunity before all of you. All those chartered accountants, the professionals, the non-professionals who are working in the Indian GST, who have understood GST, who are in the process of understanding, let me tell like that, who are working regularly, who are reading regularly, who are attending programs, seminars, lecture meetings, etc., who are keeping update with the Indian GST. All of you have got not one country, 150 plus countries to work. Some of you, if you decide, no, I want to go to some other country and settle down, the best mode will be to join an office in the division which deals with indirect taxation, which deals with consumption tax. For example, you want to go to United Kingdom. It is known as VAT there, and the principles are the same. The principles of taxation are the same. Procedures may be a little bit different. The manner of working may be different. The return filing form may be different. The payment of taxes may be different. The rates may be different. But the principle is the same. It is a consumption tax, destination based, and the jurisdiction where the consumption happens is a jurisdiction which gets the right to collect the tax, the right to levy and collect the tax. So this is what is the introduction I can offer to all of you. And in my, I'm talking in my individual capacity today. But even in my individual capacity, let me tell you that in the last about 3 years of working post GST and 2 years working prior to the implementation of GST with various governments and talking to the government authorities, looking at the drafts that the government had notified, and also sharing my international experience with the authorities concerned. There are many points in the current GST regime which the government of India can do away with or can make amendments. This is the time for the government to say, look, I trust you. I trust you. And I have currently followed about 20 plus countries reforms in the COVID scenario. Reforms in the COVID scenario. What is it that they are doing for the people of the country, for the businesses, the governments, basically? I mean, certain countries have in fact given tax holiday for 6 months. They said don't pay tax for 6 months. Don't file any return for 6 months. You are free to do whatever you want to do. And whatever you have collected in these 6 months, whatever is the tax in these 6 months, you please pay on installment basis, and I give you further 6 months time to pay. In fact, no doubt the countries which are economically strong, financially very strong, and who have a high rate of compliance can afford to tell this. But can India do this? Can the government of India do this? Yes, the government of India can convey a message by giving further time, saying that look, 6 months don't file a return. 6 months, you pay me at least say 50% of the taxes. Don't pay me more than, pay me 50% of the taxes. Balance 50% you pay later slowly. But then the same amount of trust the industry must also give back to the government. The industry should also give back to the government. In fact, the question was asked to me, sir, what are your suggestions, and as an individual, what will you offer to the government if the government comes to you and says, sir, please give us suggestions going forward how we can make our GST industry friendly, how we can make our GST trade friendly, how we can make our GST very simple and a law which can be understood by all. See, first thing, my friends, you must forget that any taxation law can be simple. No tax law can be simple. One. And for a country like India, which has got a different geography every 50 kilometers, every 100 kilometers, where taste, preferences, choices, business models are so different. Like India is not a country. India is a world. India is a world in one single country. So it is extremely difficult for the government to have one particular simple legislation. In fact, I have heard many people say, hey, what is this? Look at that country, it has got only one rate of GST 5% or 7%. But those countries actually dot in the map of India. They can afford to have their whole, the whole country is lesser than my own city of Chennai where I live. In fact, there is no parallel to this country. There is no parallel to India with respect to levy of GST in the manner in which we have implemented. We must be proud about it. I must, as an Indian, I feel very proud that look, we have introduced such a complex legislation. Yes, it is little difficult, no doubt, but then many countries fear, how can I do it? But India has done it. So, there are how many rates of taxes? 0 is a rate, 3, 5, 12, 18, 28, and there are also some miscellaneous rates for certain industries. In fact, people come and tell me, sir, so many rates in India, 6 rates in India. Is it possible? Why we should have only 2 rates? Yes, it is a very good suggestion that we will offer to the government, to tell the government, look, you have just 3 rates, 0, 5, and 15, or 0, 5, or 12. You have these 3 rates. and you have one higher rate for negative goods like your tobacco and tobacco products, or goods which are luxury based goods in a country like India. You have it at say 20% or 25%, whatever is the government's prerogative, or whatever the government wants to the statistics it has it in hand. So the first thing is that the government should now look at synchronizing the rates of GST, having come 3 years now. It is now time for the government to look at the GST synchronization, the rate synchronization from 0, 5, 12, 18, and 28. The 3% is on jewelry also. So 0, 3, 5, 12, 18, and 28. The government must, because if it doesn't happen, then classification disputes may arise. A trader who is paying 5% GST because his manufacturer charged him only 5% when he purchased the goods. Now, at the manufacturer level, maybe there is some mistake, and instead of 12, the manufacturer charged 5%. Now, what's going to happen is the manufacturer is caught with a show cause notice. Down the line, whoever bought from the manufacturer, who was charged 5%, all of them will be issued show cause notices, and all of them will land up in problems. So, esteemed friends, this is my first suggestion, that we must look at synchronization of rates. So, I have come out with some 13 important points. In fact, 13 is my lucky number, and I was also born on the 13th of May. So, 13 is a fancy number for me. So 13 points I have noted down, and already first point I've told you. And then if you see, very recently the government of India wanted to operationalize, wanted to notify the section which actually provides refunds to the tourist. If you have gone abroad, you are eligible for a VAT refund or for a GST refund at the airports when you come out as a tourist, of course subject to some conditions. In fact, these are most trying times. Tourism industry will be very badly hit across the world. It is time now for the government to notify this section, notify the rules, and make it operational immediately, so that the tourism sector at least will look up and or will try to stand up from the current brink that it has gone into. And friends, if you look in certain countries, there are free trade zones. Free trade zones are those zones. I'm not talking of SEZ. I'm not talking of the zones that we have in our country. I'm talking of a free trade zone, and free in its truest sense. India is such a large country. Along with the state governments, the government must establish certain free trade zones. And in the free trade zone, there must be single window clearance. There must be single window clearance. And anyone can come and set up a unit there, whether from India, outside India, and they must ensure, or they must give guarantee to the government that this will be the turnover and this will be the kind of revenues that they will offer to the government. So free trade zones with single window clearance is the need of the hour, when so many companies are trying to come out of China or any other nation, and India wants to, in fact, invite those industries. So a free trade zone will be something which will be very, very appealing to all these industries, and they should be given land at a good, at a subsidized or a very good rate, and the registrations, the pollution controls, clearances, the environmental clearances, the other tax clearances. I'm not telling that the government must give them tax reform. No one. Tax concessions. No. Many industries today don't look at tax concessions only. They look at various other factors, various other clearances. So through free trade zone, the government must offer such benefits for industries to come and establish in the country. In fact, I'm not trying to make a proper flow, but giving you certain points so that it will work at the back of your mind whenever you're talking to authorities. In fact, the composition scheme or the small traders, the small business units, every country, Every country has special schemes for small businesses. Either the turnover exemption is there, or return filing dates are staggered, or payment are staggered, and so on and so forth. We do have a composition scheme. In fact, the turnover limits of the composition scheme with respect to services must be raised at least doubled from the current limits that the government has set, because we are looking at MSME, we are looking at SMEs, we are looking at SMPs. In fact, if you ask me, the statistics of the GSTN will tell you that the turnover beyond 5 crores, there are only about 10 lakh registered persons in India. And there must be about 100 lakh registered persons in the GST. And out of that 100 lakhs, 10 lakhs only are those who are above the turnover segment of 5 crores. So government can easily pick up, okay, what must be, and according to me, according to the information which I have with me, those with the turnovers below 2 crores must be close to at least 30-40 lakh registered persons. So they can be identified, a boost can be given, and turnover limits can be increased so that the MSMEs and the SMEs are truly benefited. Then reverse charge. Why do we need reverse charge? I'm appealing to the government, do away with reverse charge. 9394, why do we need reverse charge? In fact, the government has got all the machinery under its control to find out those who are tax evading, those who are not paying tax. In fact, reverse charge is the most convenient way of shifting the tax burden on a person who is totally unconnected, and also making him liable for each and everything as if he is a deemed taxpayer. As if he is the original taxpayer, he is deemed to be a taxpayer. In fact, many internationally developed countries where they have a strong legislation, strong tax compliance, yes, the reverse charge mechanism is there only on paper. But then in Indian context, it is my strong message that reverse charge, at least going forward now, the government must, if no, I cannot totally come out of the reverse charge, then at least have only one or two, don't make everyone. And especially transportation industry, my God, what are we doing? One whole sector, we have been cajoling them, we have been talking good to them, we have been so nice to them, and still the sector does not want to reform. I remember since 2000, the transportation of goods by road has always been under the reverse charge mechanism. Why? Why is it that? Likewise, the legal profession, one of the greatest profession in this world, one of the greatest profession, I must say, they should come forward, say, no, we don't want to be in a reverse charge. We want to be the tax compliant people. Yes, one of the greatest profession. I have greatest of the admiration for that profession. In fact, I could say there are three professions which are which actually rule this world. I think legal profession will certainly walk in with a lot of honors. Legal profession, medical profession, and of course chartered accountancy professionals. So reverse charge mechanism must be fully done away with. That is my humble request to the organizers of this program. Then, these are very, very tough times. Old dues will come, may not come, we don't know. Going forward, I have to do business, and whether the money will come, money will not come, I don't know. Why don't we go back to that old service tax legislation where it was said that you pay service tax when you receive your money? Why don't we do that? Why don't we try? At least for those with some turnover, let us instill that confidence in the industry. Look, government, we are the most benevolent government in the entire world. We are here to tell you, please, okay, your turnover is 2 crores, pay tax. Your turnover is 5 crores, pay tax only when you receive the money. If you don't receive your money, please don't pay me my money. The government come out and tell that very, very effectively. Yeah, I know these are all suggestions we can give. Government has its own compulsions, government has its own calculation, but then there's nothing that is impossible to any government in any part of the world, especially in India. So GST payable on receipt basis only and not on invoice basis. Then coming to the input tax credit. In fact, input tax credit is one of the foundation on which the entire GST law is resting. If there is no input tax credit, there is no question of GST at all. There is no question of GST law or VAT law, nothing. In fact, the concept of credit is totally a concept which is supporting the GST legislation, I understand. And whatever are those concepts or whatever are those provisions in the law which are an impediment, which block the credit, where there is no seamless flow of credit, where the government is, where the legislation is such that credits are broken should be done away with. Why should the government come and tell to the industry that look, if they, the person to whom you have made the payment has not paid me the tax, so the ITC that you have taken, you'll have to reverse with interest. Why should the government tell? Why should there be a matching of two capital A, that GSTR 2A, and unless and until the credit is reflected in 2A, I will not give you the credit. In fact, the government has got all mechanism and machinery in its and this is the first time in GST we are seeing that it was not in excise duty, it was not in service tax, it was not in the VAT laws also of many states in India. Wherever it was there, the court struck them down, saying that no, it is not correct. If I have paid my tax properly, then I am entitled to take credit, even if the other person has not paid, he has cheated the government, and I have acted in good faith. I got absolutely not done anything wrong. I am in a right to claim credit. So this provision the government must amend. And second, there is a provision which says that within 180 days, if payment is not made to a supplier, the input tax taken shall be reversed on 181st day along with interest. I don't understand the rationale behind this provision. There are other legislations, there are other laws which actually speak these kind of words when it comes to MSME, when it comes to small scale industry and so on and so forth. Why must there be such a provision in the GST law? Is it because the government wants to reflect this social character through a tax legislation? A tax legislation can never be a legislation which can control the businesses, which can control the methods and processes in which businesses are concerned. In fact, there are some industries where the credit period is 9 months. Well, it is actually accepted fact that 9 months will be the credit period. And here the government says within 180 days, you don't pay me, then I won't give you the credits. I'm sorry. This provision needs to be totally removed from the law books, and this trust and confidence. Okay, government says, take away. I have not, 180 days, I will not remove it. Okay, don't remove it, keep it in that. But don't ask the businessman to pay interest on the 181st day for 180 days. I don't think that is judicious, that is correct, that is my view. Then suspension of Rule 86 capital A, at least in the COVID times. In fact, the Commissioner of GST is empowered to suspend ITC for certain periods. Now, this power, the government must tell the commissioners through an internal note or through the internal communication channels that this particular rule shall not be utilized, shall not be used by the commissioners till such time till good times return, till the good times return, until we come back to normalcy. In fact, in the past, because I have been in the line of indirect tax practice for almost now 23 years. So I do possess some knowledge in central excise, having worked enormously in the central excise regime, then in service tax, and then going forward in VAT, and then also now in GST. There was no set time limit for ITC, for mod VAT credit or cent VAT credit. Even if it was only by way of a manual which was there, said that within a reasonable period credit should be taken. And then, of course, the government came out with some form of a law in the service tax, which was again questioned by many. In fact, when I am taking credit, why should the government bother? When, within what time I am taking credit? Government should not bother. The government must be fair enough, saying that you have the credit, you have the right to take whenever you want to take. It is your credit. It is your. You want to take today, you take today. You want to take after 2 years, you take after 2 years. Don't come up with a time limit. That is point number one. And point number two, in the same sequence, I'm telling, there is a provision in the GST law which says that when a show cause notice is issued, there is a liability. The parallel input tax credit associated with that liability will not be allowed. No. If a person has concealed, you have every right to penalize the person, every right to penalize the person through fines, through various other modes. But give him the due. If he says, yes, sir, I have concealed this 2 crores of rupees. For that 2 crores, certainly there would have been a component of input tax credit. Give him that credit. Penalize him, no problem. But don't penalize him through an ITC mode, because ITC is a fulcrum of GST. If ITC is vanishes, it is not GST at all. It is just a single point tax and nothing beyond that. Then, coming to friends, the definitions in GST, especially aggregate turnover. Now, this is a very, very compelling and very, very wide definition. If you ask me personally, no one in this country can be outside the ambit of GST. If strictly you are following the definition contained, the words contained in the definition of aggregate turnover, every single person in business, not in business, or every person who is doing charity also will be within the ambit of GST. Take the case of educational institutions. Now, many of you will say, sir, education institution exempted, sir, there is no GST. I will say, even they should register. Forget about all big education institutions, just a small institution whose fee collection is, let us say, crore of rupees. A school, let us say a school whose fee collection is a crore of rupees. A crore of rupees. And during a particular year, the school has sold its old furniture. Yes, our furniture maybe sale will come only once in 2 years or 3 years. Okay, accepted, forget about it. There are old library books, isn't it? There are old newspapers. There may be some scrap. In the form of tree cuttings. If the school has got trees, then they cut the trees, or the tree bear fruits, they sell the fruits. And all this money is accounted. All this money is accounted in the books of accounts as other miscellaneous income in the income and expenditure account. Other miscellaneous income. The fee receipt is 1 crore. The fee receipt is 1 crore. Other miscellaneous income, 25,000 rupees. So you tell me whether the school is attracted within the ambit of GST legislation or not. According to me, yes. Because the aggregate turnover says to include everything. You include everything. So the aggregate turnover for the school is 1 crore 25 lakhs. So 25,000. 1 crore 25,000. And since the turnover as the exemption limit the school has exceeded, the school has to register in GST, pay the GST, file the return, and continue to file the nil return till eternity. Every school will now liable, my dear friends. Every school where there is unconnected income, income is a broad word. Receipt, I can say. Furniture sale, vehicle sale, books sale, old newspaper sale. All these, there is a liability. There is a rate of tax. It is not that it is fully exempted. No. There is a rate of tax. Old furniture is scrap, isn't it? You can't sell it as a chair or like that, as a furniture. It's a scrap that you're selling. So, and in fact, even the aggregate turnover includes even non-GST items like alcohol for human consumption. In fact, if there is a hotel with a restaurant, and the turnover from all other activities other than the liquor sales is just to be say 10 lakhs, and liquor sale is say 90 lakhs. Just assume, my friends, only because of this particular accounted sale called liquor, the turnover is 1 crore and the entity becomes liable to pay GST, register GST. For what turnover? For a small turnover. For a small turnover. Likewise, individuals with let us say salary, income, and then there are some individuals who own, let us say, complexes and get some commercial rent out of those complexes, minimum commercial rent. So aggregate turnover will include even those small incomes that they generate out of their daily working. Of course, salaries and all those stuff are under Schedule 3, employer and employee relationship. Those will not get calculated. But then today in the GST era, every single institution is facing a threat. I use the word threat of being outside the GST ambit. Please go back. Check all your clients, if you're chartered accountant, if you're a businessman sitting in front of me here, please check your books of accounts, or if you're working for any NGOs, if you're working for any not-for-profit organizations, you just check. Are there any receipts which will attract the GST, which will quietly make me liable? Why? Because of this one definition called aggregate turnover. Time and again, government has been requested to make amendments to this definition, but then certain things are not, certain things are not very important. The government says, okay, we'll do it, but we don't know when it is. Let's see. And then finally coming to the 13th point, 13 points, the 13th last point that I have it with me now is the GST return simplifications. GST return simplification. The new GST return was scheduled to be launched, now it is postponed. But friends, 3B, GSTR1, these are current returns. Are they simple to fill? Are they very easy to work with? In fact, those with the central excise background will certainly find it useful. But how many are there? There are not many who are with central excise background. The government is certainly trying its level best to come out with one of the most simplest form of return. But as I said in the beginning, friends, no tax law can be simple. No tax law can be so simple that it becomes child's play. Tax laws can never be simple. So the GST return, the current return, which is that you and I have to live with it for a few months at least. And time and again, appeal is being made to the government to come out with simple returns. The government is doing its best, I can tell you. They have recently come out with popular measures like file your nil return with an SMS, if it's nil return, and just by an email you can do that, and so on and so forth. In fact, the government is working more closely with professional organizations like ICAI and others in making the returns much simple. In fact, the government is also trying to come out with the online e-invoicing procedures. In fact, individually, on my personal basis, I would only say, please wait, do not go do not jump, because it's a huge exercise which the industry will have to do. I know of a company which has got 400 branches. 400 branches. And the branches are sometimes located in remote locations in interiors of the country where there's no internet facility, no proper connections, etc. And e-invoicing will certainly jeopardize the businesses of such large taxpayers of the country. So the government is certainly looking into all these things. And if you ask me, friends, these 13 suggestions, if they are actually taken by the government, and the working can be, there can be more. I'm not saying that only that can be more, there can be 100 also. But according to me, these are 13 important points which, if the government can address immediately, enormous amount of trust factor and faith factor can be built into the industries, especially the MSME of this country, which requires huge support from the government. It is not that everyone wants loans, everyone wants money. No, it is a trust factor. It is a faith factor. In fact, informally, I have in fact requested that for next 1 year, there must not be GST search. There must not be GST rates. There must not be GST inquiries. There must not be GST notices. It's a 1 year give. Go home, go do whatever you want, go do scot-free. But please do not break my trust. The trust which I have, please do not break my trust. Whatever is the time limit that I've given to you, I am willing to adhere to that time. And once the time is over, kindly ensure that you come and pay up all your liabilities, all your duties, all your responsibilities you please fulfill, to ensure that the trust factor which the government has put into motion is further expanded, and the industry becomes the biggest beneficiary of all. In fact, lesser number of show cause notices, lesser number of demands, lesser number of the tax evasions or whatever it may be, will be the best key indicator of best performance of a country. A country that says my interest collection from delayed payments is nil, we must say best country, because best tax compliant people live in that country when interest from late payments, delayed payments is nil. So friends, having spoken my mind on all these points in my individual capacity, and also as a chartered accountant, as a person who's an independent director on the boards of corporations of many of the corporations in the country, I feel certainly that the trade and industry has to rise up. They have to voice their concern very boldly. They have to write to the government, constantly tell the government, constantly. So, you keep knocking the door, keep on knocking. At least once the door will open. At least once the door will open. In fact, in Tamil, they say very beautifully, கேளுங்கள் கொடுக்கப்படும், தட்டுங்கள் திறக்கப்படும். You ask, it will be given. You knock, the door will be open. That is what very beautifully they say. So government is also almost next to God. Keep asking, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. And then you see the amount of benefit that we will get certainly is enormous. So it is a two hands required to clap. So government and industry should join hands together and ensure that going forward, moving forward, they become one of the most tax compliant economies of the world. And we must dream of a day when there are no GST rates, no fraudsters, no scamsters, and everyone is paying their taxes properly. Government is also, the rates of government are also very, very fair and very, very free. So friends, thank you very much. And as per the organizer's request, I am willing to take any questions or any suggestions that you have got. You may please, I don't know the mechanism through which the questions will be asked, but I am available here for next 15-20 minutes. Thank you very much. Over to the organizers.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the useful and the valuable session. And now we can take up some of the queries which has been asked by our user. So one of the query is on, especially on the ITC part. So the question is, what are your views on ITC on goods destroyed, which was restricted by the government, and also GST on sales of those scrap goods, which is a dual burden?
Madam, these are two questions. So you ask me your first question.
Yeah, so first part is on ITC on the goods destroyed, which was restricted by the government. So what are your views on that?
Yeah, in fact, see, the concept of input tax credit is linked to output tax. Now, only if there is an output tax liability, input tax credit can be taken. So, if there are goods which are destroyed by natural circumstances, or goods become in such a manner that the goods have to be destroyed, the input tax credit embedded in those goods have to be reversed. It has been the time-tested process. It has been there. We are not asking that. But then, in certain times of in natural calamities, even in Chennai in 2015 when it happened, majority of the goods of the large corporations and industries went into the water in floods, and a lot of damages. Industry did represent to the government saying that at least the input tax credit that we have taken, you should allow us to, don't ask us to reverse that. Please allow us to take the credit against other goods. The government said, no, we cannot. It doesn't work that way. There must be a balance. See, normal process, that difference between goods destroyed, goods lost. There's a difference between both. So, goods destroyed by natural circumstances, or it demands that they're perishable goods and they're destroyed, whatever input tax credit is available has to certainly be reversed. What is the second question, madam?
Second is, what is your views on GST on sale of scrap goods?
Sale of scrap goods. There is a GST. There is a GST on sale of scrap goods, but in what context this person is asking?
So the person wants to ask, like, they feel like there's a dual burden on this. So what is your view on that?
I don't understand the dual burden, because see, if it is a scrap, there is a GST payable on scrap goods. That is a GST payable, and if it is a regular GST person, then there will be an input tax rate available. But if there are education institutions, schools, etc., I don't think GST will be, credit will be, input credit will be available.
Yeah. We'll move towards the next question, which is in relation to RCM. So the query of the participant is like, doing away with the RCM is a welcome suggestion. However, what are the consequences if reverse charge supply is erroneously treated as forward charge and tax paid by the supplier?
Very good question. If the law says, I'm a man, law says, Narendra Kumar, you are a woman. You are not a man, you are a female. I cannot argue. As per law, what is the law? I am that, that's all. So if the law says that a particular transaction is only by way of a reverse charge, for paying tax by way of a forward charge will not undo the wrong. What the government will come and say, okay, thank you very much. So you have paid the tax by forward charge. No, so don't worry. If there is time, you apply for a refund, we'll give you the refund. But the person who is not paid, who should have paid under reverse charge, I will issue a notice to him and I will collect a tax. I will collect a tax along with interest. The same scenario was there in the service tax regime also. The matter went up I don't exactly remember the citation, but it was a case argued in the Mumbai bench of the tribunal, where the tribunal told, okay, are you the person who should have paid under reverse charge? Yes, sir. Did you pay under reverse charge? No, sir. Why you did not pay under reverse charge? Because the person paid under forward charge, sir. Do you have the proof that he paid under forward charge, sir? Yes, sir. Show me the proof. Here is the take the proof, sir. Tribunal accepts it, saying that yes, correct. So you are correct because that other person has paid, you have not paid. But henceforth, don't make this mistake again. Follow the law. This is the law. You have to pay under reverse charge. The other person should not pay under forward charge. Thank you.
So next question is related to the block credit. So the query is like, what is your stand on section 17 subsection 5, which is related to block ITC? Isn't it possible that all commercial purposes ITC be allowed in this testing time?
Madam, in fact, I am a person who has always tried to block these type of provisions which are there in the law. See, why should there be such a lengthy blocked credit provisions in the context of Indian GST? I have not found any in any international legislations. See, when you have such lengthy restrictions, which it certainly impairs your trust factor somewhere. See, if an input tax, if an input is used, input service is used for the purposes of business, then that credit must be allowed. The credit must be allowed. In fact, there are countries where certain credits are blocked, but only when they are used for non-business purposes, not for business purposes. In my view, if the government can scrap 17.5, nothing like that, or bring it to most minimum, make it short and simple. Business purposes, you use it, I give you credit. Non-business, I will not give you credit. Fine. Thank you.
Totally agree with you. Like right now, because people actually struggle with this section and they say, okay, why we are even disallowed with this particular ITC.
That is
So,
what see, industry should come forward. I don't find any industry representations or industry the captains and doyens of industry in the newspapers talking about all these things or allowing their CFOs or their tax experts to talk. Unless and until the industry comes and tells the government, look, sir, we want this, please do it for us. Industry must tell all these things. Please continue. Thank you.
okay. So other question is, and actually this is related to the refund and this rule 36.4 together. So the question is, so now what is the change in ITC impact as per refund to be claimed as per circular 135 issued on 31st March? What is the implication of 36.4 before November 19 in reference to refund?
You are talking of the inverted tax structure, is it?
Yeah, so here, if we just talk about the new circular which was issued, and that particular circular talks about the ITC you can claim only if it is reflected in your GST at 2A. And if we talk about the rule 36.4, it actually gives you the permission of 110%, which is also again for now till August they have like relaxed it. So now still people are not able to claim the refund though rule 36.4 is relaxed. So what is your view on that part?
Madam, if you ask me, the government had come out with this particular position in law considering some statistical data that is available with them. And I don't see that this particular amendment will be there for a long period of time. This will be short-lived. Please wait. This may not be there for longer times to come. So currently we are talking and telling that please remove this. This is not required at all. Let's see.
Okay, sir. And I would say again there are not many questions in relation to 36.4 only. People they are saying that they are struggling with, especially when they have a quarterly suppliers. So they are not able to claim ITC, and also
see, this is what industry has to keep on telling, send mail, send representation, talk to the government, etc. Yes.
So next we'll go towards the other question. It talks about, I have received RFD 03 deficiency memo for financial year 17-18 on 5/5/2020. RFD 1 was filed on 31st March 2020. Ours is export of services, whether refund will be issued after the rectification of deficiency.
Did you? I mean, is the time limit expired?
Yeah, so their point is like the time period is already expired, but they have received some deficiency notice, which is after the.
Whether the deficiency memo was received by them within the time limit or after the time limit expired, because that those type of cases are coming in where the department had issued deficiency memos after the time limit has expired, and because the time limit for claim refund also expired, department says now you cannot claim refund, something like that, isn't it?
I guess
Is
yeah,
there
we
any
need to
clarity?
again ask. Right now, there is no such clarity. We have to ask the user if they can.
See, I'll tell you 1 minute. If it is a genuine refund, no one can deny it. If you have filed the refund claim on or before the due date, the deficiency memo has come delayed, maybe after a long time, and you are not able to, in fact, respond again on or before the time, but the original file will be treated as filed only. No one can reject it. You can go to the court, file a return, get the refund. Get the wrong, whatever has been done, rectified.
So there is another like similar question in relation to refund. So the participant is asking if any firm is closed and it remains, and the firm is closed and there is lot of ITC which is remaining, whether the person can claim the refund.
No, there's no provision. There's no provision. So instead of closing, you maybe merge in someone, organize a takeover. Let them enjoy your ITC. You get that money also.
So yeah, with this, I guess there is another question which you have already covered,
Yes.
but I would like if you can again like repeat for the audience. So the participant is asking if the supplier do not make the payment within 180 days, then is it correct to bear this burden of reverse of tax and pay tax with interest?
See, that is the provision currently. What the provision says, within 180 days from the date of invoice, payment has to be made to the supplier. If payment is not made to the supplier, then on the 181st day, the input tax credit taken has to be reversed along with interest. This is the provision which I am opposing. I'm telling why the government should have such a provision in the books at all. Okay, if you want to have, but then why you have to charge interest? This was never, see, in the service tax regime, this 180 days was 3 months only for services. Only for services. For service providers, the payment has to be made to the service provider within 3 months. And if the payment is not made, on the first day of the 4th month, you should reverse the credit, no interest. That provision is not available here. So I want the government, appeal to the government that they must take a relook at it. Of course, it has to go to GST Council, it has to go through a bill and all, because it is there in the law, in the act itself. So we have to go through it. Thank you.
So with this, well, actually there are many queries. Maybe we can take next 2 more questions and then maybe we can conclude over the FAQ. So other question is about what are the challenges you think tax filer might face while transitioning from traditional to the cloud-based filing solution?
Challenges. First challenge is that is your data safe? Is someone hacking it somewhere and all those? That safety is always a threat, isn't it? In fact, everyone wants to have all their data, their business, and everything in front of in front of them. So somewhere there in the cloud, safety, all those things are there. But I don't think that it's any issue, because as I said in the beginning, they have to accept technology. You have to move forward.
Other is also like more of a generic thing, and I think this was more relevant before this GST came into picture. So the query
Yeah.
is like, is the idea of having a single rate is successful in countries which have implemented it?
No country, madam. See, I'm telling you, maybe few countries like Singapore or Gulf, there's one single rate. But there's no comparison to India. No country in the world has got a single rate. There are minimum 3 rates. Every country, 0 is there, and then there is one mean rate, and then between 0 and the mean rate, there is a middle rate. So some countries are 0, 18, and 10. 0, 15, and 7. So minimum every developed, every country who has an organized GST setup has got 3 rates. One rate is out of question. You can never. It will be counterproductive, I can tell you. Thank you.
We'll just take one last question here, though there are many queries which has been asked by you.
Yeah, I can understand, please.
So it's like, why can't return filing frequency be shifted from monthly to either half yearly or quarterly? It will save significant amount of useful working hours without affecting the government revenue much.
Good suggestion. We want it quarterly for everyone. Let's hope so. Make payment on a monthly basis. Return filing quarterly. If 6 months is more, make it quarterly for all.
Thank you, sir. Actually, thank you for like answering like queries from so many of the users, and this session was really very valuable. So with this, I will actually like to introduce CA Preeti Khurana. She's a chartered accountant and has experience of more than 16 years. She also leads the content strategy for taxes at ClearTax.
Hello, sir. I want to firstly thank you so much for joining us and giving us insights on GST. And firstly, I would like to wish you a very happy birthday for the month of, still the month of May, so I can still wish you, and I wish you a very long and healthy life. And I would like to thank all the other people, participants who have joined us today for such an insightful session. And sir has shared 13 very important points, and 13 is his lucky number. And you know, it was great to hear of those from him. Firstly, he mentioned that consumption tax is actually a very important and beneficial political and administrative tool. So it can be used very judiciously by the government, even by all of us, by utilizing it to the best of our abilities. So we must make the most of this new law. We should learn more about it. And sir is always here. Taxes are complex. He said it is difficult for all of us. We are all learning. It's a journey for everyone. He also made some valuable suggestions, like, you know, the government should implement a free trade zone. There should be single window clearances. And then about the composition scheme, which I think is an excellent idea and will tie in with the changes that have been brought for MSMEs. So that's going to be excellent. Also, he suggested, you know, how ITC reversals should be looked into again, how they should be reconsidered, and GST return simplification, sir. That completely ties in with our whole idea about ClearTax, which is to simplify taxes. And I wholeheartedly agree with you that, you know, taxpayers should not be burdened with any penal interest if they make delayed GST payments. So that's a very valuable suggestion, and a lot of people have been asking for it. They want to file their tax returns, but they are worried about the 9% interest that they are going to pay. So a very useful and insightful session, and thank you so much, sir, for joining us and all the participants. This was the first episode of Masters of Tax, and sir has made it a grand success. A special thank you, Rajendra sir, for such an insightful session. At a time of crisis like this, it is important to keep learning, to keep sharing our knowledge. And thank you once again, sir. All of you, please stay tuned for the second episode, which is going to be held on the 26th of May at 3 p.m. And we're going to talk about digitization of CA profession. It's a very valuable topic. We will be with CA MS Mehta. He's with the Faculty of Board of Studies, ICAI. So please do remember to register for it. And for now, my grateful, and regards, and thank you, sir, for joining us. Jai.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
So thank you, Rajendra sir. Thank you, Preeti ji.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
So with this, I will just conclude, like, stay home, stay GST compliant. And in case you have missed any of the session, you can always join us to ClearTech's YouTube channel. There you can always get this session over there. If you want to see it again, you can always look it over there and can watch the sessions. Also, with this, as we all know that ClearTex is an online software, you can always come to ClearTex software and complete your filing if you're getting data from your clients. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you all. Stay safe, stay home. Thank you. Thank you.